Hello,
I'm
Josh.
and
I'm
Jack
Welcome
to
another
episode
of
OAKS
Online
episode
6.
Oh, it's too hard to talk
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
So, Josh, how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad.
You look happy, so that's good.
So, what
Yeah.
are we going over this episode?
We're going to be recapping the Impact Sunday, what happened last day.
Sunday, yeah.
Yeah.
And hot topic we'll be going over.
And of course, the epic notices will be there as well.
Yeah, so,
Let's
Josh,
begin.
how was the Impact Sunday?
I wasn't there, so I don't know. So you're going to have to tell me, was it good? Did you enjoy it?
I did really enjoy it, yeah, because instead of normally just having one singular talk downstairs, you had...
Jack, stop
Three
fiddling
different-
with litter, it's so annoying.
You can't do that. This is because you weren't in the Impact Sunday. It was all about recycling and helping to make the world greener. So there was 3 things going on. So we had worship as normal,
Yeah.
and then there was a seminar going off down here. Upstairs there was crafts, and outside you could go litter picking.
Very nice. Which one of them did you enjoy the most?
Well, I actually got to do all 3 because I was filming for the video that is playing now, and so I went bit in here, bit outside, and bit upstairs, just
Very
going around
nice.
filming.
Very good.
Now, I've just been to the litter pick with Emma, and now I'm on my way to the back to the church where they're doing crafts and a talk.
This is easy and it's good fun, I think, to see what you can create just with bits of plastic.
So what are you two doing?
Making plastic coasters.
That's carry bags.
That's carry bags, yeah.
We'll enjoy the stuff. Good fun.
Yeah.
Just hope it turns out alright. So do I.
So Janet, what are you doing?
Well, I've made some plastic bag yarn by cutting up a big kind of bin liner type bag, and I'm crocheting a mat with it, and I'm making a coaster. I'm crocheting with my plastic yarn.
Where their voice is not heard. Their voice goes out into all the earth. Their words to the end of the world.
And Hebrew 11:3.
Hebrew 11:3. The universe was formed at God's command.
So Robin and Sammy have been listening to the talk. So what was it all about?
So yeah, Karen was Carlina talking a discussion with us about how we can be better stewards of the earth and what that means as as Christians, like what kind of creation should mean to us, and also then discussing as a group how we can, like some of the things we can do to kind of look after our earth, to protect our earth really. So yeah.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, good to discuss with people as well instead of just listening. Because I'm not very good at listening. The best thing that I'm going to take away from it is the earth is like God's house, and if you went into someone's house to visit, you wouldn't like use up all their stuff and make a mess and like care for it, the earth as if it's someone else's house.
Yeah, and creation. So our entire earth, our entire universe is God's greatest artwork. And like when you go outside, when you go like into the Peak District or into the countryside or anywhere, really you see how beautiful it is, how like the wildlife that's there, and everything like that. And you should want to look after that, the art that God's created, that God created us to rule over with Him.
Now, let's go on to the hot topic.
Hello and welcome to OAKS Online. Our hot topic this week is what Jesus said about who we are called to be, and we have a very special guest who's not
me.
Yeah. What's your name again?
My name's Sarah.
Sarah Simpson.
Yep.
Of ITV News.
It's
That's
not.
what I say. Because it's a really good news presenter.
It is, well, yeah.
And now
yeah,
you're
yeah.
using it to its full potential.
I am Sarah Simpson of ITV News.
Yeah, exactly. No, we've got you with us today, which is an absolute pleasure.
Not sure why I agreed to this, but yeah.
No, it's brilliant.
Okay.
It's fantastic. If anyone wants to be a guest on this OAKS
Sofa?
Online- on the sofa, well, you have to be vulnerable on this sofa.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just setting the
Let's
precedent.
see how it
now.
goes.
Because Julia, hello, is doing the talk today. And we didn't want too much of you, basically, did we?
You can never have too much of Julia.
No, can't have
Maybe
you
you can.
interviewing you.
No,
though.
we
No,
love Julia.
that's true.
I mean, unless John did some really clever trickery, which I'm sure he could do, like have you on the sofa.
But that would be weird, wouldn't it?
So we're doing what Jesus said about who we are called to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so tell us, why did you pick this topic?
I think it's just so interesting. We become Christians at some point, don't we? And it's a journey. It's not a once done and that's it. It's a journey, and the stuff that we learn on that journey, we learn stuff about God, we learn stuff about ourselves, we learn about other people, and there are things that we learn about that sometimes we struggle with because we've been brought up in an environment where this is okay or that's okay, and then as we become Christians and start mixing with different groups of people and learning different stuff, we suddenly find actually that way of thinking or that way of behaving isn't really in line with what God wants for us, because He wants His best for us, or our best. And so it was just looking at some of those things and how we are. I mean, Scripture says that we're going to be transformed from glory to glory. I don't feel terribly glorious a lot of the time, but it's how that process happens that I find that really fascinating. So,
I was just thinking, wouldn't it be lovely if it was just like that?
oh yeah,
I'd
like
love it to
like a
be.
makeover.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't feel that glorious,
No,
especially today.
Many
but
times.
It's okay. So we're going to unpack that today. Maybe share a bit about our own journeys in this, hopefully.
Yeah.
We'll see how we go. But you also, to begin with in the talk, we're not going to show the little introduction bit. We're going to move straight on later on, aren't we? But you talk about like the beginnings of our faith and how you get baptised and all that. So if anyone has any questions about any of that, get in touch. But we're not going to focus on that today, basically. Okay. Is there anything anyone would like to say at this point before we dive right into the first bit of your talk?
Let's do it.
Okay, off we go. John, QVT.
When we ask Jesus to come and be Lord of our lives, we become His followers, disciples, or little Christs, and we are saved. When we're baptised as believers of Jesus, we publicly declare that Jesus is Lord, and we go under the water to symbolise the death of our old self before rising again as a new creation. We are born again and filled with the Holy Spirit, who dwells in us to comfort, guide, and empower us. Our belief and faith in Jesus changes us from the inside out, and it changes our spiritual identity. We were once separated from God, a spiritual orphan if you like, but because Jesus died on the cross for our sins, we are reunited with our Heavenly Father and adopted into His family. We are His child. He never looks upon us with disappointment or horror, only with delight. He's our Heavenly Dad and He loves us. But as Christians, We don't just have an eternal life, heaven when we die. We have a fresh start and a new nature. But there are some lifelong habits, behaviours and attitudes from our old nature that we don't find in Jesus, for he was entirely sinless. So as we begin our relationship with him, we also begin a lifelong journey of transformation to becoming more like him. It's about a heart and mind transplant, becoming just like him, with his thoughts, his compassion, and his actions. The transformation process happens at a conscious and an unconscious level. It happens as we learn about Jesus through the scriptures and teaching, through prayer, through healing, through our worship, and by learning to hear the Holy Spirit and follow him. But it also happens in community, when we spend time with other Christians, just like Jesus spent time with his disciples. So scripture tells us that our new identity is that we're a son or daughter of God, and we are precious and dearly loved. We're also citizens of the kingdom of heaven, a chosen people, his glory carriers. We're holy, we are salt and light, and we are free. But we also have a destiny. We have authority, and we have a purpose and a calling. And we are anointed. We're anointed to proclaim good news to the poor, freedom for the prisoners, recovery of sight for the blind, and to set the oppressed free.
Wow, that just really, we've watched sneak preview of this already, and when you said that part in the talk about, it's from Isaiah, isn't it? We're anointed to preach the good news, and all. It just, my heart leapt. This really excites me. I remember when I became a Christian, that bit, the Great Commission, everything excites me and terrifies me all in one go. Mm-hmm. And if I just stop there, I can live on that high. But then I feel a bit inadequate, because then I also feel like, actually, I miss, Jesus seemed to swan around and take every opportunity that came his way and didn't seem to shy away from it. I, as a broken human being, shy away from it. And I'm hoping that you guys will help encourage me today in this, but I feel a bit inadequate if I go further than the excitement when my heart leaps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I do like a good heart leap.
Yeah.
I think first of all we need to separate those. There's two things about when we become a Christian. One is our sort of spiritual identity, which I've talked about. If you watch the Bible talk, you'll see it. And it's immediately as we become a Christian, as we allow Jesus into our lives, we are immediately a son and daughter of our Heavenly Father. We are precious, we're dearly loved, we are all those things that I listed. Nothing can change that.
And I love that you started with that, because I was just like, we should almost start everything with that. Every conversation. Yeah. I'm a daughter of the King, I am loved, and nothing changes that.
Mummy preach coming out.
This is what I tell my kids.
And it's, we don't have to we can't earn God's love anymore. It is completely unconditional and whatever. So that is a really good standing point. So we're already...
And a new start, whatever's gone before.
Fresh start.
New start.
Every day.
Every day. And I need it.
God's mercies are new every day. So every day we have a fresh start, which is absolutely brilliant. So there's that identity. That can't be taken away from us. That is us. But then it's how we walk that identity out, and that's where it starts to sort of separate. So we've got an identity, we have a destiny, and there's this kind of tension, isn't there? So it's not about doing, but actually we do have a destiny. There is that kind of commission.
There is a calling.
There is a calling to go and tell people about Jesus and give people hope that we have.
And see, there's another heart leap there for me. When you say destiny and calling, I'm like, yes, I've got a destiny. And then I think, but tomorrow I've got to do the shopping, I've got to do this, and take the kids to school. And it's like, what is my destiny and calling more than that? So there's heart leaps, and then there's a reality, like you were saying, isn't there? Day to day.
The tension.
Am I failing in this?
And that's where we need each other, isn't it? And that's the other part of it, and that's where we do the walking out and the learning how to be, because there is life, there are tasks that we have to do.
I'll share something about this.
So
we talked about transforming to become more like Jesus. There are times, I know this is going to be so hard for you to believe, when I don't act like Jesus. I know,
Really?
I know, shocking. And lately, a really helpful thing that we've started to do, so Richard did this to me on Saturday, is we start to say, Emma, I don't think you're acting like who you really are.
Wow.
In this moment. I can see what's going on, but this is not who you are in Christ. Yeah. This is you veering off. So the context of when this happened, I'm happy to share. I play hockey, and there's a particular team that we play, and it's quite, to me, I don't really look forward to playing them. It's a frustrating time. So I came home very grumpy. We lost. I came home and I was not acting like Jesus in that moment. And yeah, Richard is like, Emma, we love you, but you're not acting like yourself. You need to, remember who you are. Yeah. Remember this identity that you're talking about.
Do you know, I'm really hoping my husband's not listening to this.
Is that what he's going to start saying to you?
Like Jesus.
No, it's not even just like Jesus. It's deeper. Obviously, we want to be like Jesus, but it's our identity in God. We all don't fulfill this all the time, and that's the reality. Yeah. That's what we're talking about. But it's okay to start from that place of love. Like, I love you right now, but you're not acting like yourself as who you were called to be.
That's the difference, isn't it?
Thing. Yeah.
Helping each other.
Yeah.
With somebody who loves you. Yeah. And wants the best for you. Because I think a couple of times, again, we had a sneak preview, but I think a couple of times you mentioned things like being part of a loving environment and helpful sort of criticism and things like that. And immediately my heart sinks, I don't want anyone to criticise me because I'm going to go down the tube, but in a loving environment. Oh. And Richard obviously loves you and he wants...
No, but if a year ago or 2 years ago that someone would have said that to me, I would have... Well,
you'd been off the hills.
I'd have never talked to them again.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, don't mention forgiveness to me like last week, because that weren't going to happen. And I'd have been down the tubes. I'd have gone down I'd have hated myself because I'd have, I'm such a bad person. And actually, it was just a moment. I am not that person. I am loved. Yes. I am a daughter of God. I'm precious, dearly loved. But all those things you said.
You need friends to say, look how far you've come, don't you? Because we'll often say to each other,
yeah, we do.
How am I still bothered by this? How am I still getting so upset by this? But then somebody lovely like you or one of my other friends that loves me will say, one of my Christian friends will say, but look how far you've come. This time 5 years ago you'd have reacted in this way or done this. So we need those people, don't we?
Yeah. And sometimes, I don't know about you, but I do identify with Jesus when he was in like his hometown and people in his, even his family at that point. I mean, his family went on to accept him, didn't they? But they didn't see the potential and the transformation and all that he was bringing. And sometimes it can feel like that. You feel like this calling, I need to be a certain way with people. I need to show them God's love and I need to show them I'm a different person and all that, when actually it's not always that straightforward, is it? No. It's not. Sometimes family or friends or whoever you're closest to might not always see that because you're acting in a way that's different to how they perhaps have known you to be or want you to be or however. And that's something I've definitely reconciled with and I'm still reconciling with. So it's really a big topic you've picked.
I like a big topic.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's a good one though, because that's deep down. It's not even that deep down. It's what we want, isn't it? We want to change. We want to not react to all those things for whatever reason, whether it's stuff that's happened when we were younger or life experiences we've gone through. We want to not react negatively to those things and those things fall out of our mouth that we don't want them. That shouldn't fall out of our mouth.
Later on, don't you? In the talk, we'll come to that. Yeah. About us.
Oh,
saying
so
things.
Many times.
And you try and catch it. It's like gone out of your mouth. You try and catch it.
Too late.
It's too late.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Too late.
Oh.
It's a journey.
It is a journey.
We have to start from the truth which Julia has already told us. Yeah. That's our starting point.
We are dearly loved. Precious.
Yeah.
We are.
Yeah. Okay. Should we carry on a bit then?
Yeah.
Move on and we'll talk a bit more about this in a minute. Okay.
Brilliant.
Psalm 139 says, O Lord, you have examined me and you know me. You know everything about me. You know when I sit down and when I stand up. You know my thoughts even when I'm far away. You see me when I travel and when I rest at home. You know everything I do. You know what I'm going to say even before I say it, Lord. You go before me and you follow me. You place your hand of blessing on my head, and such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too great for me to understand. So God knows us better than we know ourselves. He knows what we're going to say even before we say it, although this is hardly surprising as he created us. So a question: have you ever had one of those awful moments when something either pops out of your mouth or into your mind that you know isn't acceptable or Jesus-like, and you maybe wonder where on earth it came from? Or worse still, you say or do something that's really not Jesus-like and you don't even realise until much later. This unwanted stuff comes directly from our heart, which has often experienced hurt and pain. So although we may know in our mind how to behave, our damaged hearts throw up something quite different. That's where we need the heart and mind transplant. We don't just want to say the right thing to be politically correct. We want to feel it, believe it, just like Jesus. And God wants to heal our hearts and renew our minds so we automatically respond like Jesus. But we need him, and often those we trust to lovingly help us on that journey.
I'm not going to lie, Julia, I didn't like this bit. I've got it written down here, the unwanted stuff comes from our heart. No. I don't think it comes from my heart. I don't know.
Not being defensive at all.
No, not reacting out of the hurt or the pain, nothing, no.
No.
Why, Julia, why? No, come on, unpack this with us.
Okay.
What are you thinking?
I'm just thinking it's all part of our kind of, attitudes and behaviours and the way we respond to things. And sometimes it's been through kind of social learning. So you see, I don't know, a family member kick off, in an unpleasant way, maybe with somebody that's in a store or something, and you kind of watch and you learn, and then you learn to do it the same way. Or a restaurant. Those embarrassing moments, but there's kind of the social learning element, what you've seen, what you've experienced, and sometimes it can be through a direct painful experience or hurt, and you kick off. Basically, it's a bit like having a raw wound and someone sticks their finger in it. Certain things
Wiggles
just
it
like
around.
yeah. Some things are just like triggers,
Yeah.
and we're not even sometimes aware of those triggers. Someone can say something almost innocently, and whoa, off it goes.
Yeah.
And those are the sort of things that I think God reveals to us over time. Fortunately, not all in a wanna when we first become Christian, which is why it's a journey and a process. And it's why we need to be part of community, and a loving community, because, like you were saying before your example, that's not really who you are. At this moment it is.
Yeah.
We can go back and, we can have a conversation about it, we can unpack that a little bit, we can go back to the scriptures and think, actually Jesus wouldn't have responded like that. Why am I responding like that? And so it causes us to question
really
ourselves.
Not even responding, sometimes I just react.
Yeah, well,
I don't even respond.
Yeah. It's more often than not, it's pain.
Yeah.
Something that we've experienced, and it's a way of kind of covering up or
I found
defending
that helpful.
yourself.
I think because we all do it. Well, I do a lot. Just react.
Yeah.
And I find it helpful that you you didn't just say it's from your heart, because like you, it's like, well, no, that's not me. But it does come from where you have been hurt and where you've had pain. And I remember someone once said, sometimes even though you've been through, God has healed and he's brought you so far, sometimes there's still that bit of a scar. So I totally identify with what you're saying. And all these times came to mind where I was thinking, I overreact. But it's that pain, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's almost a defence mechanism,
Yes.
and defending yourself and protecting yourself.
Yeah.
Because you don't want that pain again, and often it's subconscious, you're not even aware of it.
Yeah. And that's where you need your mates
Friends.
around you.
Yeah.
To say.
Who will tolerate it,
Yeah.
but actually come alongside and say, actually, that's not who you're called to be.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't like to hear it. But in that process, we can get healing. which is really good. So in the long term, it's much
The vicious circle sometimes, I think a lot of my sort of pain when I overreact is probably around rejection and wanting people to like me for various different reasons, why I might be, especially sort of sensitive to that. So then somebody, even in a really loving, kind way, saying you're reacting in a certain way can also then be another rejection. So it's that vicious sort of circle, isn't it?
Are we helping people here? Yes. What's going on? Because I don't feel like we are. Like we're just telling people, don't do this.
What I was going to say is, but I think in time and letting yourself be vulnerable with people, I think sometimes we don't share enough with people and say, this is actually why I'm really upset about it, or we want to try and pretend we've got it all together, don't we?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So allowing yourself to be vulnerable, you do grow. You do.
I've given up not crying in public. Because, well, A, it doesn't work because I can't not do it. If I'm going to cry, I don't seem to... I am an emotional... I never used to cry.
Tears are okay, though.
Yeah, and there's a part in Philippians about showing your tears. And crying, I never used to cry. Like, I thought it was like a bit of a sign of weakness. And I think God's really done something in me in that, because actually then it seemed like I just didn't ever stop crying when I first became a Christian. It just felt like it was all sort of coming out. And now, obviously, I don't cry as often, but when I do, it's because I'm actually really upset. And I think God is teaching me that it's okay to show that vulnerability, because actually it's exposing, isn't it? If you're that upset about something that it's making you cry, it's a very vulnerable thing, and you feel, like you said, it's like, oh, I don't really want to show this to people because it's scary. But actually Jesus he had emotions, and he was quite he wept, he got angry, he flipped the tables, all of those things. I think when we talk about becoming like Jesus, we kind of have this opinion that it's like this really level-headed person that swans around and doesn't ever react or do. But he didn't react, but he definitely responded, and he definitely got emotional. And it's kind of trying to discern that, like you're talking about rejection, healing that wound, but that doesn't mean that you can't then have compassion for things, and God won't use that that wound that you've had to help other people, that you'll be able to spot it perhaps in people.
Definitely.
That other people that haven't had that experience wouldn't be able to pick up on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I don't know where I'm going with this, but that's what... When I hear you talk, I'm like, but you would be able to say, like, you've helped me, and I've like, would say I get quite rejected with things the same, but you might not have been able to see it and understand it if you hadn't have. I think God can use these things
without
to transform us, that unwanted stuff that's come from our heart that you've talked about.
Yeah.
He can transform us, but he doesn't wipe the slate clean on those things. It's not like they go, because you find healing and then you can help people that have... You just see things differently, don't you? See things in a different way.
The experience is still there, but he takes the pain away.
Yes.
And I think that's the thing about our emotions, isn't it? We are fully human. Jesus was fully human, and we have those emotions for a reason, but they're often broken, and it's part of our transformation journey for those things to be healed. And we're all very different. We've all had very different experiences. We've all got brokenness in some ways and others. But that journey of transformation is about walking hand in hand with God and allowing him to bring those things to light and to bring healing, which is brilliant. And that's another hope that we can offer people, which is great.
And that's brilliant sort of example and story that we can show people. In church we often call it like a testimony, don't we? But it's just our story, isn't it? Of this is where I was, this is what I was like, this is the things I used to react to, and this is what God has done for me. And I hope you almost get to the place where you think, I'm almost glad I went through that, because I can identify with others and I can see pain and hurt in others, and God can use that.
Life is full of pain. It's not going to go... It's not like you become a Christian and then nothing bad ever happens again. It doesn't work like that. Like, bad stuff still happens, and you can't escape it. It's just the way the world is. I mean, you can pray and you can obviously make good choices in all of that, which in some ways would lead hopefully to better outcomes. But life is so unpredictable and messy, and you have to wrestle with it all of where's God in it, how can I be transformed in this scenario that's happening to me that I don't want to be happening, or someone might be treating you badly, or just illness or whatever it is, family crises. You have to sort of change the way you view it, in the sense of, I know who I am, I know I'm loved, I know this, even if I'm rejected, I'm loved, or whatever. How can I use this situation to be transformed, to become more like Jesus? That's an impossible, hard topic, but
and I think we kind of touched on that in the last, when you were talking about the lady whose husband was murdered on Christmas Eve in Sheffield. And it's like, nothing can take that away. But actually, she was very kind of, I'm going to forgive them. God, would you come and be my strength? And that's the thing. We don't have to walk through these things on our own. God will walk through, and he will bring his healing. He'll bring his comfort. He might bring some wisdom in it. And that's the amazing thing. We don't have to go through these things on our own, which I can't imagine how you would go through that sort of thing without God.
And it links into last week, doesn't it, about forgiveness? Actually to forgive somebody, for her to forgive.
It's crazy.
In that situation. I mean, it's not human, is it, to be able to do that?
No.
But to do it hand in hand with God, then it is possible, isn't it? And all these things, being able to be transformed and have this heart and mind transplant, which you think, oh wow, we said at the beginning, if we could just do that, that'd be amazing.
That'd be good.
But it is a transformation, isn't it? And it doesn't happen all at once. But to have God with us, walking it through. Sometimes we feel like it's a few steps forward, a few steps back, but he's there walking it through with us. He knows us. I love that you read Psalm 139. I just love it. And where it says, you search me and you know me, he knows everything, all the things I hide from everyone else. He knows those things, yet loves me. So,
well, that brings us on to the next little segment, I think, because we're talking about how we need to be in community and loving community, and how Jesus modelled that, and that you touch on that in the next bit, don't you, and a bit about what that means. So should we go on to that now, and then we can unpack that a bit more in detail?
Okay.
There's a Hebrew word, hesed, which describes the culture that Jesus established with his disciples. It's quite difficult to translate into English, as it's about love, but it's an enduring, gracious and faithful type of love. It's a love in action, or an in it for the long haul type of love. A love that is always gracious and merciful, and always aims to bring freedom and joy. It's important for our own transformational journey to be part of such a Hesed community, one where we can do life with other Christians who accept us, love us and guide us. And you're in a Hesed community when people's faces light up as you walk into the room. We now know from neuroscience that when we experience this sort of joyful exchange, we not only feel good, but subconsciously we learn and change much more effectively. In these loving environments, our brain cleverly responds to seeing Jesus' values being modelled, so we relearn ways of thinking and acting, and we can respond more favourably to correction where it's needed. Jesus had some radical things to say about our day-to-day attitudes and behaviours, challenging statements which took the Ten Commandments to a whole other level. For instance, in Matthew 5, verses 21 to 22, it says, "You have heard that our ancestors were told, 'You must not commit murder. If you commit murder, you are subject to judgment. But I say, even if you are angry with someone, you are subject to judgment.'" He goes on in verses 27 to 28 to say, "You have heard the commandment that says you must not commit adultery. But I say, anyone who even looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery with her in his heart." So that goes for all of us, whether men or women. Jesus clearly understands our human hearts and our hidden thoughts, and he demands much more. He demands a pure integrity. But so often our unseen anger or emotions are coming out of this damaged heart, bad experiences, painful memories. Our Heavenly Father knows all these things and he wants to help. He wants to heal us and bring freedom. So in addition to highlighting our thoughts and feelings, Jesus also challenges our actions. These again are rooted in our heart. Matthew 5 verse 40 says, "And if anyone wants to sue you and take your shirt, I'll hand over your coat as well." Verses 43 to 44 say, "You have heard the law that says love your neighbour and hate your enemy. But I say, love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you." These expectations are tough. In these days of blaming and suing, it seems completely counterintuitive and countercultural to think of responding like this, particularly when we've been hurt. It's much more normal to justify ourselves, blame or punish others and seek retribution. But we're citizens of God's kingdom with different values and different ways of living, and Jesus showed us how to do that. In Matthew 5 verse 3, Jesus said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." I've learned that the term poor in spirit basically refers to beggars in the street, people who know they have nothing. In reality, we all have nothing, and we all need God. It's in humility that we must turn our backs on what is normal and approach our God to receive his grace. Jesus continued with, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." Again, meek is often thought to mean weak, but it actually means a strength contained, self-control, people who are not subject to their emotions. Jesus was the greatest example of meek. With access to all the power of heaven, he faced his persecutors with grace and with strength. So to finish, Jesus came to show us a different way, a way of grace, of mercy and forgiveness. And he modelled it time and time again throughout the Gospels, even as he died on the cross. Through his life, death and resurrection, Jesus revealed the kingdom of God and changed the world. Today, as his followers, we can do the same.
That was really impactful, I thought. I loved the ending, but we'll talk about the ending at the end.
Okay.
The bit I loved the most, you talked about Hesed, which is kind of a new concept, this Hebrew word. So do you want to just maybe chat about that? Because I really loved how you described the love in it for the long haul, I think you said. Just
brilliant.
Yeah. Go on.
I found that.
You found
That's
it.
not my own.
No copyright in the kingdom, it's fine.
That's true. I just thought it was a very helpful way of describing it, and it's this kind of, it doesn't translate well into English as a word, but it's that kind of deep, brotherly, it's not a romantic love, it's that, it's in it for the long haul. And I think there are people in our church community that have been through situations and it's been a long haul, and it's like, no, I'm just going to keep loving, and that's what it's about. It's about being prepared to get alongside each other in those awkward moments when we react badly to something, and having the sort of conviction, bravery to say, actually, this isn't how it goes. And because it's so easy, and I think our society now is so, they so easily take offence.
I was going to say, this isn't cultural.
No,
is it?
Absolutely not cultural at all. And offence is just like, well, you're not going to find that anywhere in the kingdom. It just isn't. We have to love each other. And I think if we can embed ourselves in one of these Hesed communities, and it might be your belonging group, it might be your prayer triplet, ideally it would be the whole church would be a Hesed community, but it's good if it's in kind of smaller groups, and it's almost choosing to stand and love whatever.
That's really, really tough. I mean,
it is.
I was saying it's not cultural, but I do have two friends from when I was younger, and I feel that we have this, because it's like when you're a kid, you grow up and you either you change who you are as you grow up, and you either lose friends, which is obviously sad, and you don't want that, or you muddle your way through and you learn to love each other for who you are, and you realise you're not the same anymore. You're not the same as you were, the same person you were when you were 18 or whatever, and that I think I have reached that point with two of my friends particularly, where it's like no matter what now, we are going to still be friends. now that's not always been an easy journey, but that's what my head goes to when you talk about in it for the long haul. You know, that fact that it's like, no, even if that person is changed, sometimes when somebody changes, that's hard for you to deal with, and you freak out because you're like, that's not the person I once knew, and everything else. And I think, yeah, that's my experience with that. I mean, obviously I have lost friends over the years because we've changed, or I've changed, or they've changed, or whatever, and that's quite hurtful. But actually I think Hesed, like you said, if you just translated it as love, it doesn't do it justice, does it? Because it's actually sticking. We talked about this last time, about if you actually get close to someone, it's really hard to hate them, because no matter what you learn what they're going through, and that's what Jesus does. You talked about, I can't remember exactly how you phrased it, but you know, someone's face lighting up when you walk into the room, and how that is what Jesus does. If you're this close to somebody and Jesus is smiling at you in that moment, if you can picture that, that's really hard to. You might even be angry at God or a person or whatever, but if that person was like, no, I'm staying here, I'm loving you right now, in whatever you're going through, and how, even if you're not acting like yourself, I'm going to be there, and I'm going to love you, and that's what came to my mind when you spoke about it.
Yeah, it was the long haul bit for me that I just thought, I really do feel such a privilege and so blessed that I've been part of our church community from being sort of so young. So I really feel like I've had those long haul relationships, and people have stuck with me. I mean, I've said some stuff at the front and I think, why did I say that? Why have I reacted like this? And, you know, they've been sort of, but people have stuck with me, and I know love me, and I know if there was, I could ring so many different people, and they would be there like that. But it also reminded me of that sort of marriage love, you know, that I'm like you're saying, being close to somebody. We're in it for the long haul. You know, however you treat me, whatever goes on, we're in it. There's no other option, and that's what we should be like at church. And I think we do have that sort of, we're in it for the long haul.
And there isn't anything as joyous as walking into a church service. I can't explain this to somebody if you don't come to church, but you walk in, and particularly since we've started back after lockdown, where we've truly missed that face-to-face contact, you walk in and you see people, and it really is like that, isn't it? Your face lights up, and it's like, I'm so glad to see you.
There've been people I've not seen or spoken to through the whole pandemic. There've been lots that I have, but some that I haven't. But the moment I've seen them, when we've been back at church, it's family. It's straight back there, and it's lovely.
And you talk about how important it is to have that around you. Would you like to talk about maybe, if we don't have that, I suppose really you're saying without that, that's like the foundation, isn't it? If you cut through us as people, as Christians, you'd hope Hesed ran all the way through, as like a stick of rock analogy, you can't be transformed really. It comes back to what we talked about before, about you have to know your identity, and you're not acting like yourself, because unless like, I know that my friend who did that, I know they are doing that from a loving. I know that they see my warts and all, and are like, and it was said in jest in a sense, but they were being truthful. And I don't feel unsafe in that situation. Had that been said by somebody who I didn't have that Hesed, in it for the long haul kind of friendship with, I might not have felt as safe in that to voice my frustrations. And I mean, I do kind of wear my heart on my sleeve, so maybe I still would. I just feel rejected and go away and cry about it later. But you get my point. It's I felt safe to do that.
I think what's been really interesting, we've been working through this book that we've mentioned before about the other half of church, and it's about neuroscience and what they're discovering about how we learn and develop, how our brain learns and develops, and it's through joy. And there's a particular emphasis. It's a Christian book, and it's about discovering that our joy comes from that face lighting up. So it kind of goes back to us being a baby, and you know how you gaze at a baby lovingly, and that connection.
Yeah.
And that helps the brain to develop, and it's about feeling accepted, and it just makes everything so healthy. And so it's being aware of that. And what's really interesting in the Bible is, I mean, we know that blessing, don't we? The Lord turn his face, let his face shine upon you, which we all love. And oh, so good. But actually, through a lot of our translations in the West now, that's been translated out. So it only appears in a few places, but actually it was quite frequent in the original text. And it's been changed into may his presence be with you and things.
Oh, okay.
And it's not the same thing. And so as humans, we're now learning that face lighting up, it literally sparks neurons, and it's so healthy, and we grow and we trust. So the more we can understand that and be prepared to commit to that and not do the, oh, I'm fine.
Yeah,
I'm fine.
Which we do.
We
all
do. And, you know, we have to move on from kind of superficial relationships.
It's connection, isn't it?
It is really connection. And it's so healthy. And you can say you can do that because you've got those deep hesed relationships. And then we're learning. And it's a safe place to be taught. So you're not only seeing other behaviours, you're seeing things modelled out, you're seeing how Jesus would respond, and you think, oh, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
You're actually learning new ways. So it's kind of social learning turned on its head.
Yeah.
But you're also able to cope with people saying, actually, that's really not, you're not yourself, you're not who you're called to be. And so you've got time and the space to respond to that and learn and develop. So, yeah. Joyful
this
exchange.
neuroscience stuff is like,
amazing.
to me, I'm like, it's way over my head. I find it a bit wishy-washy, I'm not gonna lie. When we first, I've read 2 books recently on this. That is one of them, and I still don't really understand. That's my point. I'm just like, and that you explaining that to me, I'm like, wow, yeah, that is good. Because even though I've read it, I'm like, that's
linking
helpful.
it to how a baby
yes,
looks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I also read one by a lady called Dr. Caroline Leaf, and she's brilliant. I'll put a link down below with some videos, because it's again about she's a scientist, and they're researching all of this stuff as we speak. I mean, they're probably making advances that we don't know about yet, but all about understanding connection and relationship and joy in the brain and all of that stuff. And it is just so amazing how, like, the Bible talks about this stuff, and it doesn't talk about it in a scientific way, but actually we're learning now about what that even means. And she's done studies, you know, where like they've put people in separate rooms with like in separate boxes where they can't communicate, can't see each other, and they can like on brain scans, if they think about the other person, it lights up the same part of the brain and things. And you think, it's like we don't there's so much we don't know about how the connection between humans and everything, it's crazy. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
I think the thing we've come to realise, having read this book and learned more about it, is that so much of our Christian lives has been about learning stuff, reading stuff and being taught, but actually we learn far more effectively from each other's behaviours and relationships and connecting.
Okay. Yeah.
So some people learn really well from just stuff being read out to them or reading. But for many of us, humanly, we're wired to learn from each other in community. And if you think about, you know, Jesus and God and the Holy Spirit, they're in community. And so it's fascinating to suddenly think, actually, we could have been doing church an awful lot better because we've been focusing on teaching this way. And so much of it is, you know, when we're actually doing stuff together, doing life together.
And teaching. Jesus taught on the job, didn't he, if you like. It
was very apprenticey.
He very much, like we're doing now, we're unpacking it and realising how it impacts our lives. That's really important. Like, I listened to the talk and I think it was fantastic, because, you know, I just listened to it all. But I do think chatting to people about it like this and sharing your insecurities and everything,
life examples and
stuff, it helps it cement into my brain, because then I'm like, oh, when you said, you know, I might go away and listen to this again after today, when I listen to it again now, I'm like, oh, that is this and everything else. So I think it's really important to have biblical teaching, and because I mean it is the word of God and it's living and you know, almost.
And I need it, because if I'm really honest, when I read the Bible, it's hard sometimes, some of it to understand.
Yeah.
But when you explain things and you've researched and you've found things and you link it, it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
So we need people, don't we? We need the teachers.
We need
in our community
to
help us. Yeah.
Because like if you're like me and it just goes over your head with the you know, all of it. It's how it impacts our lives, and Jesus wants us to love people well, and sometimes just talking it through with someone helps you to see how you can do that better.
Do you think this, I suppose, if we were talking about this, some of the things we said at any other time would be good, but we're coming out of a pandemic, aren't we? And some of the things that we've said about being together, being close, learning off each other, being in community and stuff, I think for some of us, that's a bit of a challenge, just practically, isn't it? So I suppose we all need to think about, well, how can I do Hesed community while still feeling comfortable with how I do this, whether it's...
Because we're still in the pandemic. It's not gone, has it? So we need to... I think we touched on this before. We didn't talk about Hesed, love, but we talked about how isolating the last 18 months has been and how much that's going to have implications on feeling connected and feeling loved and everything else. I mean, just living in a house with other people, that might seem to somebody who lives on their own as a better alternative. But to be honest, when you're on top of each other, you didn't smile when you walked in the room because I'm so fed up right now.
Did their face not light up when you walked in?
No, and I mean, obviously, I'm not trivialising it. I'm not. We're laughing now, but I think we're not going to see the implications of all of this stuff and all of the, you know, the missed out on joy and the missed out on connection. We're not going to see the implications of this until maybe a little bit later on down the line, because, you know, I'm meeting people regularly in you know, just in the street, I mean, who are like, they don't know how to act around people anymore.
Do
you
social
shake hands?
dance.
Do you hug? Do you... I don't, you know, it's weird.
Tricky.
It's a minefield.
It is. But I think we can all look at the value of Hesed community and how important it is to learn off each other and be transformed while still thinking, well, what do I feel comfortable with? Because you can still do belonging
Smile
group.
with your eyes.
Smizing. You know, you can do belonging group, you can do Impact Sundays. I mean, lots of the Impact Sundays, there's bits for people to do outside, aren't there? So
there's going to be,
we can do it, can't we? We can do Hesed whilst not being bang up close to people.
And you know, maybe when you're not wearing a mask, just smiling at people, challenge yourself to just be conscious about it, you know, because this is what we're saying today, is that something as simple as smiling when you see someone can help them. It triggers something in the brain to say that
you're accepted and worthy,
accepting of them. So that's our...
And we have so much technology, don't we? You know, sometimes I've had little texts from people just saying, it was so lovely to see you today, or it was great to have a walk with you. Or that's a similar thing to their face lighting up when you walk in a room, isn't it?
Exactly.
So there's lots of things we can do.
And I loved how you ended it, which is, you said, you know, Jesus came to show us a different way, a way of grace, mercy and forgiveness. And he modelled it time and again, even as he died on the cross. Through his life, death and resurrection, Jesus revealed the kingdom of God. And as his followers, we can do the same, which I think brings us to such a lovely close. We've had 2 episodes on forgiveness. We've had this today, which feels like it is radical. It's radical living. It's hard to live out, but we're in this for the long haul with each other. We're going to help each other to do this. Get some people alongside you that can help tell you when you're not acting yourself, like me. You know, grace and mercy and forgiveness, it's not cultural.
No.
But it's how we are called to be.
It's a higher level, isn't it? It's taking us to a different place. And I mean, I popped that scripture in about you must not murder. Do not murder. It's that commandment. But Jesus said, you know, even if you're angry with somebody.
Ooh.
Yeah, really pleased you put that in.
That really, I didn't mention that because I don't want to talk about it.
Really pleased you highlighted that.
Yeah. So, you know, hopefully not many of us are going to turn into murderers, are we?
No.
But we might look at Roger Federer, might look, obviously I wouldn't, but somebody may.
Where are you going with this?
She's gone on to the other one, hasn't she? She's gone on to the
don't know where she went.
lusty one.
The lust one.
Right. I'm with you. I thought you were getting angry at Roger Federer. I was like, what's going on?
I was moving on to the lust one.
Yeah.
Oh.
You can't
well,
keep
yeah,
it true,
but you see, God sees your heart. You need prayer.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's those reactions and responses, and we think nobody knows, or we think it's okay, and we think it's okay to blast at somebody who's just made a mistake at us in the store, and actually it's not.
No.
God's calling us to a higher place.
But it's not who we are.
It's not who we are.
And it's even going more than that. It's going the extra mile, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Matthew, if you ask for your shirt, give them your cloak as well.
I mean, who would want to do that? We want to take them to court and sue them, and
absolutely,
don't we? And that's the amazing difference between being a follower of Jesus and being an ordinary member of our society. But it's hard. It's hard to come
Don't beat yourself up.
No. Don't beat yourself up.
So I can look at Roger.
No. You're so wrong. But I think it's you can't just read the scripture and think, right, I'm going to do that, because even Paul, to me, he was saying in Romans, he's saying, you know, when I want to do this, I don't do it. When I don't want to do this, so he struggled, and he's like mega apostle. We are human.
That technical term.
We are human, but it's that. How do we do that? How do we don't want to think, well, how would Jesus react? Because actually our responses are so fast.
Yeah.
And we've learned that from neuroscience as well, that we've already made our judgments before we've even opened our mouth. And so that's where we need the heart and mind transplant, and that's where we need God, and that's where we need each other.
Yeah. To let Jesus in.
Let Jesus
on
in.
Those. And not feel any shame or guilt or anything, because no matter what, if you have lustful
I can't think.
You know what?
I feel like I've shared a little bit too much here.
We love you. We still love you.
We love you.
We do. We love you.
But actually, that's not who you are.
It's not who you are, and it's okay.
But he's gorgeous.
We're going off on so many tangents. You get my point.
Yeah.
We're not here today because I mean, I've shared about ways that I still mess up regularly, but I need to know that I'm still loved.
You are.
If that's going to happen, and we all need that. We all need that love and acceptance that even if we mess up, we'll still be loved.
We are loved.
Yes.
We are precious.
And we are daughters of the King.
We are, and his face shines upon us.
I've loved it today. I've absolutely loved it. Please come
again.
again.
Could have carried on.
Yeah.
Please come again.
Yeah, I do.
We'll see.
I will come again. No, thank you.
You're welcome.
For bringing this.
It was brilliant.
Okay. Thank
Loved
you very
it.
Challenge to
much.
us.
Enjoyed chatting it through.
And
you got so much in
such a
and
like wasn't it like 10 minutes?
10 minutes,
I'm like,
brilliant.
what?
10 minutes talk.
Crazy.
Gifted woman. You
I mean, this was about 4 times longer than that. So, but thank you.
You're very welcome.
And we'll move on to the hot gospel now, which we hope is a chance for you to just reflect on what we've spoke about today. But get in touch with us if you want to know more about any of this. And we'll see you next time.
Mm-hmm. QB2.
QB2. Love it.
Thank you for that. If the Heart Gospel impacted you at all, please remember to get in touch.
Yes, we're going to go into some worship now. This song we've chosen because the lyrics really mean quite a bit of what we've just been discussing, which is about what Jesus calls us to be. So really just take in the lyrics. Don't even have to sing along if you don't want. Just listen and let them soak over you as you hear them today.
All you are, will you meet me 'Cause all I want is all you are. Will you meet me here again?
We're safe again.
We got away.
All right, that's the end of Oaks Online for today. I hope you enjoyed all the important messages.
Yes, we'll see you next time. And we've just got some notices now. Enjoy them, savour them, and yeah, we'll see you soon.
We've got a few notices now. The first is Halloween.
Yes, here on Halloween, October 31st, Sunday, between 5:30 and 7:30, we will have the lobby in the back car park all lit up with fairy lights, and you'll be able to come down, grab a hot drink, soup, sweets and cakes. So pop down and see us, and we'd love to chat to you then if you're out and about.
Yep, and the next is COP26.
Yes, and this means that the next episode of Oaks Online and to our next celebration will be focusing on COP26 and climate change, and maybe how some of the countries that are affected by this you might not have thought about. John's got a clip now from Tier Fund that'll hopefully help broaden our minds on this and prepare us for that next episode.
I'm Prabhu Deepan. I am based out of Colombo in Sri Lanka. We started seeing, massive flooding of crops. What happens is because of the economic conditions, farmers going to debt in terms of borrowing, to cultivate by the seeds, and they wait. So when they do harvest, they pay back the loans, and it's a cycle that goes on. I remember, working, with this young boy and his family and his community, and just how devastated they were when they had repeated years of flooding in their farm. And they own the land, but none of the produce. That's all tied to financial, commitments. And this also kind of exacerbated, suicide rates among farmers in Sri Lanka because there's no way to pay for them, food insecurity, because these are not only in terms of income, but it also impacted their own food intake and also the well-being. So he had to drop out of school and, start working in the field and look for alternative employment, which meant that he had to put himself at risk in working in places that he's not familiar with. So he's from a rural village. He was in Colombo, and I'm grateful that he was able to live with us and stay in our house, and we were able to kind of accommodate him so he could find a safe employment. But that's just one person, and so I think this is one family, and you are looking at entire districts of people who are continuously impacted by the rain and the flooding of crops and just destroying of crops and costing billions of rupees and dollars to the economy, but individually impacting and devastating lives. I think, you have to look at the micro impact of that.
My name is Edgar John. I'm the country director of Tier Fund in Mozambique. For the past 2 years, since 2019, when Idai cyclone struck Mozambique, after 2 weeks, we had a cyclone Kenneth, and after that, we tried to rebuild back better the country with different response, immediate response to save life, and trying to mitigate the impact of climate change. But we had other cyclones in year 2020. The crops, they were about to be harvested, and then the floods flooded all the crops. After that, people lost their food, their livelihood, and also they lost their house because of the wind, very heavy wind.
My name is Idzai Morimba. I am the Deputy Country Director for TFN in Zimbabwe. Food insecurity is a big issue we are dealing with, and we are probably going to see a lot more if the climate crisis is not addressed. Secondly, as a result of the food insecurity, we see cases, quite a lot of cases of malnutrition, and in some cases deaths due to hunger. Malnutrition in the sense that, families might end up with just maize, but then they don't have, a variety. They then are stuck with just a few grains, and they can't then have other things to sort of support so that they've got a nutritional balanced diet. The number of child marriages increase in years of droughts, where families think marrying off our daughter is better because we get something from the family that's taking the daughter, or it's one less person to feed. We see how, there's quite a lot of gender-based violence where husbands, spouses are fighting because of hunger in the family, as a result of the unhappiness, or, that's caused because of no food at household level. So definitely without any major interventions, we'll probably see quite a lot of that, child marriages as well as domestic violence.
So, we've got a question that John wants to ask us, because we've just done a notice on COP26, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
And does anybody know what COP26 means?
No. Circle of prayer.
No, I think it's something to do with the politicians. Conference of
prayer.
Politicians, the 26th one. And it's in Glasgow. I'm looking at John, if he's not giving anything away. I know it's in this country. I know recently the Queen was like, no
Cornwall?
one's... No, I think it's in Glasgow.
Oh. What was that one in Cornwall? Was that G20 or something?
I don't know, I'm not sure. But I know, is that right? Conference of the Parties. Conference of the Parties! Is that right? Oh! Do you, so come on, what is COP26? Tell me, all of you. Do you not know anything about... Yes.
Is the annual summit of the United Nations Climate Change Conference of the Parties.
Conference of the Parties.
There we go.
So what is it, Josh?
Go on.
Have a guess.
Is it where different countries come together and discuss climate change, and they discuss how are they going to combat climate change in the future?
Yeah, I think so. What do you think, Hannah?
I have no idea.
Yeah, Jack?
No.
Yeah, I know what it is, so I'm not going to say.
No.
I want it to be a surprise
Obviously, for the next episode, you want it to be a surprise.
Yeah.
Yes,
them on this
I think Josh is right, but we will all find out on the next episode.
Yay!
Sorry.